going to be arrested. For what? You don't have any proof on me. No, ma'am, I do. Okay. What's your proof?
You still think you're going to walk away from this? Think again. There's proof now, real proof. GloRilla just got arrested again, and this time she's breaking her silence from behind bars. She sent out a video message exposing everything, and she's not just naming names, she's pointing fingers directly at her own label. Could they have played a part in the strange circumstances around her arrest? Let's unpack this entire twisted situation. Jail has a way of changing people, but for Gloria Hallelujah Woods, better known to the world as GloRilla, it wasn't the cold cell or the fluorescent lights that hit hardest. It was the feeling of betrayal, not just by people around her, but by the very system that's supposed to protect victims like her. Let's take it back a bit. Imagine being one of the most in-demand names in hip-hop. You've just wowed the crowd at the WNBA All-Star Game in Indianapolis. Your debut album, Glorious, just launched at number 5 on the Billboard 200, and you're preparing for your next big moment. Life is good until it's not. On July 19, 2025, GloRilla was riding the high of success. But just a few hours later, her entire life would flip. Back in Georgia at her upscale home in the St. Marlowe Country Club neighborhood, 3 people broke into her house while she was performing miles away. It wasn't a random burglary. These intruders knew exactly when to hit. Someone inside the home fired back at them with a gun in a scene straight out of a thriller movie. Luckily, no one inside was hurt, but the criminals fled and disappeared without a trace. But here's where things turn upside down. Instead of hunting down the armed suspects who broke in, the police shifted focus the moment they smelled marijuana in the house. The Forsyth County deputies called in the Lanier Regional Drug Task Force and got a search warrant. Their investigation suddenly had nothing to do with the break-in anymore. It was all about weed. During the search, police said they found nearly 3 pounds of marijuana and jars of THC wax inside a closet in the master bedroom. That alone was enough to turn GloRilla from a victim into a suspect in their eyes. Her legal team challenged the narrative, saying the amount was minimal and criticizing the police for prioritizing weed over actual violent criminals. Let that settle for a second. The woman who had her house broken into is now the one facing felony drug charges, while the real criminals are still on the run. The moment GloRilla turned herself in on July 22, 2025, the media circus began. Mugshots, press releases, viral tweets, it was everywhere. She posted a $22,260 bond and walked free that same day, but the damage was done. Her image was now tied not to her talent, but to a felony charge, despite the fact that she hadn't even been present during the crime. The statement from Forsyth County Sheriff Ron Freeman didn't help either. He admitted GloRilla was the victim of a serious crime but said the law must be upheld in all aspects. In other words, yes, you were robbed, but we're still charging you because we didn't like what we found in your closet. Instead of launching a manhunt for the intruders, law enforcement doubled down on arresting the woman whose home had been violated. This led to a major public outcry. People online weren't having it. They saw a young black woman being criminalized for being the victim of a crime. Social media exploded with support for GloRilla. Her tweet calling out the police's skewed priorities went viral, getting millions of impressions within hours. For many, this wasn't just about weed. It was about the bigger picture, being unfairly targeted, having your success used against you, and being made an example of. And the sad part? This isn't even the first time this has happened to her. Less than 2 years before this, on April 16, 2024, GloRilla was arrested during a traffic stop in Suwanee, Georgia. She had made an illegal U-turn at a red light. The stop escalated quickly when officers said they smelled alcohol and marijuana. Body cam footage shows her trying to stay calm and cooperate while insisting she was not impaired. Yet she was charged with DUI, possession of marijuana under an ounce, and an open container violation. She was released shortly after posting bond, but the message was clear. They were watching her. These back-to-back run-ins with the law have sparked conversations about whether GloRilla is being systematically targeted. What began with a petty teenage arrest has snowballed into a pattern. The details from her early life shed light on this. Long before she was famous, Gloria Woods had run-ins with the law. She once joked, but later clarified, that she spent time in jail for stealing cereal from Kmart. Whether or not she served the full 3 years is debated, but what's clear is that her youth was marked by legal struggles. Even as a teenager, she was navigating a system stacked against her. She grew up in a religious household that forbade secular music. That didn't stop her. She and her siblings would steal CDs from Walmart and transfer the songs to their PlayStation to listen in secret. Her older brothers would then sell copies at school. It sounds like childhood rebellion, but it also speaks volumes about the environment she grew up in, one where breaking the rules was sometimes the only way to have access to basic joys like music. As her fame grew, so did the scrutiny. In March 2023, after performing with Finesse 2 times at the Main Street Armory in Rochester, a tragic stampede erupted after the crowd believed they heard gunshots. 3 women died and 9 were injured. Although GloRilla wasn't directly charged, lawsuits followed, and her name was tied to another legal mess. Another performance in Memphis turned chaotic in late 2023, leading to her arrest for inciting a riot. Her legal team insisted she was only performing, not inciting anything. But once again, her name was attached to chaos and legal trouble. Then came the lawsuits. In May 2024, Atlanta investor Aristotle Varner Jr. claimed GloRilla took $150,000 for promotional services and didn't follow through. He accused her of celebrity arrogance, essentially blowing off the agreement once her fame blew up. He said she delivered only 1 Instagram post and skipped the in-person event and interview. In another lawsuit filed in November 2024, Florida rapper Pies accused GloRilla and others of stealing parts of his 2008 song for their track, Wanna Be. While the case was dismissed in March 2025, it was another mark on her growing legal record. And just when it seemed like things might calm down, in June 2025, she was sued again. This time, it was a social media influencer named Natalie Henderson claiming GloRilla stole her viral "No BBL" catchphrase for a song without permission. What you see here is not just a series of bad decisions. It's the blueprint of how the system chews up black women who dare to climb out of poverty and make something of themselves. From shoplifting cereal as a teen to being arrested for weed after her home was invaded, it's clear that GloRilla has been under a magnifying glass her whole life. Despite all this, the real criminals in the most recent incident, the ones who broke into her house and put lives in danger, are still at large. Meanwhile, she's left to defend herself in court over marijuana she may or may not have even known was there. The imbalance of justice is glaring. Instead of getting the support and protection a victim of armed burglary should receive, she's being dragged through the mud for a non-violent drug charge. What makes GloRilla's response so powerful is that she's no longer staying silent. Her social media post wasn't just a complaint, it was a rallying cry. People from all walks of life, especially black women, saw themselves in her story. This wasn't about one arrest. This was about years of being criminalized for existing, for succeeding, for not fitting into the mold the system prefers. Her story is raw, it's frustrating, but it's also painfully familiar to so many people who have had to fight not just to succeed, but to survive a justice system that often works against them. GloRilla is taking this moment and using it to speak out, to shine a light on the dark corners of the legal system that too often go unnoticed. And now the question becomes, what's next? Will the focus finally shift to catching the criminals who actually committed the break-in? Or will law enforcement continue to treat victims like suspects and let the real threats walk free? GloRilla is not backing down, and this case may be just the beginning of a much bigger conversation. Click on the next video to keep uncovering more stories they don't want you to hear.